Hello everyone, welcome to Scorcher Toys at AnyMoon.com's transformation guides for Bandai's VF 19Advance. To begin, if you have your landing gears out, put them away. Then you want to move these wings away from the body of the toy. And the instructions make it very clear to be careful because you could get some rub on this black paint here. And as you can see, I just a tiny bit on mine. So be aware that that is a potential issue. Then there are 3 tabs inside this wing connecting it to the body of the toy. And by the way, if you just bought your toy and you pulled it out and you're like, wow, mine looks like crap in comparison to this, so did mine. I've had to transform my toy a couple times now to get the seams to be all nice and tight. But anyways, 3 tabs, you want to just pull away from the body and they will quickly make themselves evident. So there's one underneath, one above towards the back, and then one in the front towards the chest. Now, when you first do this, almost guaranteed one side is going to be incredibly tight. And it's going to feel like you can't possibly get it out. You might need to get something very thin that will not hurt the toy and slide it through and tug away. But as you can see, I can do it with a fingernail now. The first time though, man, that was frickin' murder. Once you've got those pegs released, you need to pull away from the toy. Again, you want to make sure you don't rub here. There's a little gimmick. You can see below here. As you pull away, you can lift up and it slides up, and that then gives you the clearance to bring the wing around and just get it out of the way. So that is step 1 of transformation. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and pull the leg down. The leg is attached to the body by a peg right up here around the knee. You will see it as I kind of pull away from the body. You can kind of see it in there. So then you just want to get it free. And when you do, the leg will kind of pop down on you. And that is what you want to have happen. Now I'm going to take a break here and address putting on the super parts. The advance packs, I should say. So there's a leg armor that is incredibly simple to do. It just has pegs on the inside of it that line right up. You want to make sure you have the right one for the right leg, but it just pegs right on into place. No difficulties there. You have a leg armor, this piece here. It just goes into this cavity on the back of the leg. So that is also very easy to do. You do have, this is a YF19, so it is going to have the Gerwalk joint down 1 click, knee up 1 click. But it gets pretty complicated with the VF 19Advance. Because you also want to be paying attention to this peg underneath again, which goes into a different slot on the body and locks into place like that. So that's into place now. I've got this guard within my shoulder. I want to bring that down so it's out of the way. I can then put in this little armor piece here and hold it there while I slide that armor piece underneath it. So there we go. So that is now in its proper position. There is a little tiny triangle. It looks like this. It actually has, I'll see if I can capture it, but it actually has a little L or right, or L or R on it, obviously for left or right. You want to make sure you got the right one. And then there's this little piece here that just slides in. So first we do the slide in piece, then we do this piece here, and you should get a nice, pretty tight fit on how those come together. If they're not coming together properly, you probably have the wrong sided piece. Like the YF19 toys, there is a little swing that comes out to fill in the gap that's created by the armored parts. So just going to plug in, peg on the top, peg on the back, slot, slot, plug in, plug in, and everything should come together nice and tight without any real gaps. So now I would bring the wing back around, and this is where a lot of people start having some issues here. When you bring the wing around, this is also good if you're transforming back to Batroid. And again, you got to make sure you push that gimmick down so everything fits properly. You should have no gap there. And once you've done that, there's a little peg underneath the wing that fits into a little slot in the armor. Line it up. Now the problem here is that the peg on top of the wing isn't going into anything. So that is a gripe of a lot of people. Whether or not it ends up being a big deal for you, I guess that's up to you. So there it is. You would just obviously repeat on the other side. I'm not going to show putting on the advanced packs in Batroid mode because it's really easy. There is the big wing booster that goes on next. It just slides into place. Now I say that, chances are it's not going to be as easy for you. So mine just kind of locks in. There is a peg underneath and a little knob on the top, and you can see there's a little tiny indent on the wing to receive it. And there you go. So one, kind of like how the wings peg in tighter on one side than the other when you first get the toy, one of these advanced wing parts always seems to attach a little bit better than the other, but if you get it on right, it should fit snug enough where you can handle the toy, although bumping it will probably cause it to pop off. All right, let's continue on our journey to Gerwalk mode. Okay, returning where we were before the advanced parts interlude, we are now going to extend the feet. You just pull down like you would on any other toy, and then you can go ahead and open the foot up. It's a nice chunky foot. When you do this, a neat gimmick is revealed. So here I'm going to pull it down, and you can see there's a trapdoor that's popping out. And that trapdoor then is the next step of transformation. You want to go ahead and there's a part here, you need to weave it on the inside as you pull it forward. And you're going to fill in that cavity on the inside of the leg. And you'll see there's a peg up in the front. And that peg, so you want to weave through to get this peg behind this piece of plastic right here. But you want to get the front of it, that slot right there, in front of this little tiny peg right here. So it kind of just weaves into place. And when you're there, it's nice and flush, and everything's tabbed in and locks into place. So a neat little gimmick for transformation of the legs to avoid any sort of cavity fillers. Turning our attention to the back of the legs, we are now going to pull forward the rear cavity filler, which requires you to get a fingernail in here and just pull up like that. You're going to then pull the fin over and fold up the red part like that. And then the back of your leg is ready for action. Just repeat on the other side. Okay, we're now going to take off the shield. In order to do that, we have to open up the side bays next to the head. And that is because the shield has an integrated neck cover in it. There are two tabs in the front of the shield that are going to want to make it hold on, and also two pegs that are extending into the arms. So I'm going to start by freeing the arms. Just going to pull them down. And that caused the shield to pop up like that. And you can see here the mechanism. I'll go over collapsing that in a moment. There is a replacement Gerwalk neck cover specific for this mode. Just put that in, bring down these trapdoors, and that part is done. Now we're going to get the torso in the proper spot. And to do that, we're just going to lift up on the torso. You can see there is a slot right here. There's a peg on the wings. You bring that peg back and around. And this is similar to what we did when I put on those advanced parts. You're going to bring the wing back over. You want to make sure you've got clearance from this piece in front of it. And when you're in the right spot, you're going to want to make sure it's tucked down. So here's my vent. Pressing down. get that peg into that slot. And if this comes unseated, make sure it gets reseated again. And there you go. Your torso will now be locked into spot. Obviously, repeat on the other side. Alright, so my toy looks like this now, and I haven't done this last step because it gives me a little more stability through transformation, but you can go ahead and pull down on the knee, or below the knee, and that gives you the joint necessary to bring the legs way forward. As you can see, this would be a little too extreme. There's also a pivot point up beneath the intakes, so you can get a little camber outwards. Pick a spot that's going to work for you, and then get the toy into the position you want. And then go ahead, and we are going to focus on the arms. We're going to just bring them around. And same thing on the other side. When you get past the wing, you just want to bring it down. Bring your elbow down. You're going to bring your shoulder up. You're going to bring that inner piece down. And you are almost there. You can go ahead and pop open the arm. Bring out the fist. Close the arm again. And there you go. So then, obviously, repeat on the other side. Returning our attention to the shield now, you're going to go ahead and recess the neck cover. Just push down. And then you want to slide it inside. Now the instructions do warn you to be gentle, as these are very thin pieces of plastic. You then have pegs, you have a slot, you can just fit the shield into that slot, presses in, works. Get your wings where you want them, and you have Gerwalk mode for the VF 19Advance. Alright, let's go ahead and take this toy to Batroid mode. To begin, we're going to go ahead and get these wings out of the way again. So, get your arm up, gently pull the wing away from the torso. You should have that peg pop free for you. Then remember what I did earlier, you lift up on the wing root to get this little gap here, which then allows you to swing the wing down. So you're going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. Your torso is now unplugged, and what you're going to do is bring the arms back to free up those trap doors on either side of the head and neck. You got to get a fingernail in there and just kind of pop them open. And when you do, your neck cavity filler is now removable. Go ahead and remove that. You could also pop open the trap door on the back, lift the head upward, turn it around, close the cavities, and bring the arms back down. Now we're going to focus on the nose of the craft. And to begin with, you're just going to want to apply a little pressure down on the front to pop open this back joint. There we go. So there's a little peg right there that is now free. We're going to continue to apply that pressure and get the whole front section freed up like so. You'll notice there's a piece down here. We can just move that out of the way. I will pay a little more attention to that in a moment. You can then push this entire nose section back, and it will actually click into place, like so. And then that would free up your nose cone. You're going to have to bring down the nose cone with just applying a pressure on it. Again, you can click it back into place here. There it clicks into place. Alright, so now we're bringing pressure down on our nose cone, and it'll just come into place. Now, this trapdoor that we brought down earlier, it does have a little double hinge to it. So you want to go ahead, move everything to the back, and then move it forward like so. And then the peg at the front will line right up into the slot underneath there. So it should all just come together very nicely with a nice little click. And now the front of your vehicle is in the proper position. Now we're going to go ahead and get the canards out of the way. You just pull them out away from the body and swing them forward. So that's good enough for the moment. And then we're going to go ahead and bring up the torso. So now the torso does have a neat gimmick to it, where you bring it up like this, and then you can pull it upward, and it will extend. So there you go. That is the fully extended torso. Under the future chest, it should look something like this right now. And what we're going to do is bring the guns down, and we're going to fold out these interior brown pieces to the outside. And then there's these gray pieces at the front of the chest. We're going to pull those forward. Don't go very far, just a little bit. And now your chest is pretty much ready to come back down on that nose cone. You could at this point choose to do the legs. I like to just get the chest over and done with. So now I'm going to bring the torso up and around. And you can see it's going to get in the way with the canards there. So this is where you're going to angle the chest up and get the canard behind the chest. And you got to be doing the same thing on the other side. And then you will get into a position like this. Now we can fine tune those in a bit, but really you want them just to pop in behind the chest. And now you need to make sure that your neck is far back because you want to have room for it to come down on top of that nose cone. Okay, so now see, this is something you want to avoid. One of my guns has come tucked in, so you don't want to apply too much pressure yet. You want to make sure that gun is on the exterior. You should have something like this. Bring it down, and your chest is locked and in its proper position, and your fins are locked in behind the chest like so. Okay, just two little things left on the top of the toy. One is this trap door in the back. There's a peg on the top of what was the canopy in the back there, the cockpit area. You're just going to bring that trap door down, and it will lock the torso together. So rather than it locking sort of in the front, like it does on the Arcadia toy, it really pinches together. On the Bandai toy, it locks together in the back. Also, it kind of happened for me when I rotated my head around, but there is a little bit of elevation you can get on the head to help with articulation purposes later. So you want to do that. And at this point, you could rotate your arms around a little bit to get them more in the position you're going to want them for when everything is done, because now we just have to focus on the lower body. Alright, so let's get the wings out of the way. We're just going to bring the wing back and then fold it over onto itself, and it'll look something like this when you're done, and then do the same thing on the other side. And this part should be fairly obvious, but you're going to go ahead and recess your Gerwalk joints so the legs are straight. Bring the knees back so they're straight also. You can then recess those knees. You're going to go ahead and push in on them like so. And you can stand your toy up now on its legs. If these have not come unpegged, you want to unpeg them now and slide them back behind your intakes. They just are on a little hinge, so they just hinge back like so. The toy is starting to look good, but it's a little tall at this point, so we're going to try to fix that. There is a gimmick here. You can pull out at the hip. You can see it extends, and then you can bring the leg up, and it will get to a point where it is over a lock, and then you're going to just fold the leg back down. It will be incredibly stiff the first time you do this, but that will then allow you to get your legs properly positioned. Again, just pulling out, bringing up, locking, and bringing down. Very stiff. So there you go. Now your toy, a little bit shorter legs. You can go ahead and bring up the crotch. It does have a little trap door that then pegs into that slot behind it. So you don't have to worry about a floppy crotch. It will peg tightly into place. Again, that piece should be below the intakes in the back. So your leg should look something like this. You are now in Batroid, and it should look like this. So you got your nose cone tight, everything's tight at the chest. Fins, canards tucked in tight behind the chest. Fins folded over behind the legs. These parts behind the intakes. The wings in the back. Looks pretty good. You do have the ability, if you think the ankles look too high, this is kind of the dynamic ankle position. You can recess the ankles to get them a little bit lower. And that might look a little bit better to your eye, obviously. Up to you, and again, if you're trying to do something really dynamic, you'll want that lower down ankle position. Check out my full review on anymoon.com, and as always, thanks for watching.